Hello everybody and welcome to RPG Horror Stories. I'm your host Suyu, and I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying these videos as much as I'm loving making them. That said, as always, if you find that you like this video, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, hit the bell icon down below, and by Saloon's mother, you better be leaving your RPG Horror Stories in my comments. Now, let's get on with the video. The DM blows 5-year friendships over titty pics. Gonna be an interesting one, I guess. The players of the story: Peters, the DM that asks for nudes, and C, my other male friend. I met this dungeon master 5 or so years ago. We became fast friends and had a lot of the same aspects. Had some fun, and times I also met most of my current D&D party through his games. So something good came out of it at the least. Anyways, Peters had a crush on me. Asked me out, I said nah and moved on. A couple years later, he asked me for nudes. I said nah, and we move on again, with me telling him it's fine that he asked. See me, fool. He was very clearly into me. So obviously that other players in the games would make jokes about it. It was cringe, and it was very clear to him that I never reciprocated. Still, he persisted. Around this time, Peter started to get territorial. C was one of my close friends, and Peters would constantly condescend, argue with, and generally just be an asshole to him. To the point where C almost left the group because of it. Even if C was 100% right, Peters would go out of his way to prove C wrong or pull the, well, I don't see it that way bullshit. They argued about how elf trans worked for a week, and Peters was wrong, by the way. I talked to Peters about his shitty attitude a few times, but nothing ever changed. It got worse when I started DMing. Peters literally nuked an entire campaign because he didn't like how the rest of the party was playing. He would literally, during break, take one of the players, C, into a private call and fucking rage at how everyone else was playing. The campaign after that, I split the group to figure out who the problem was. And he forcefully ended the campaign early via throwing a portable hole into a bag of holding. I could have salvaged it, but by that point, it was obvious who the problem was, so I just fucking ended it. I kicked him out of my next campaign, and I told him why. Now for the fun part. I ended up talking to one of my other friends who were a part of his games, all female presenting, keep in mind, and we discovered that Peters has asked us all for titty pics. He would also call while drunk off his ass, something I managed to avoid by not accepting cold calls on Discord. He was also telling one of the other female players that there was nothing between him and I, while at the same time, he was trying to get with me and saying shit like, I just want to wake up next to you. True player behavior. That group conversation was the impetus for us all leaving the Discord at once. It was during the conversation that provoked everyone to leave at once when the husband of one of the female players was contacted by Peters with some guilt-trippy bullshit about how us leaving seemed like a coordinated effort. Husband responded with a, maybe if you didn't ask all of your female friends for titty pictures, including my wife, they wouldn't have ghosted you. Funniest shit I've ever seen. And I've gotta say, OP, that's a fucking Chad move if I have ever fucking seen one. She deserves him. The whole thing is just so weird to me. I'd never been in a situation before where someone was so blatantly an asshole and sexually explicit and weird. It really made you think, is this actually happening? Whenever he would do anything. I think that's partially the reason we let it go on for so long without saying anything. That and not wanting to rock the boat. He was the dungeon master after all. If we pissed him off, we would probably get kicked and not get to hang out with our friends. Example, constant CSA jokes about him as his dad, none of which, by his own admission, were true. How's that funny? And literally, baby talking me if I had a headache. If you don't know, CSA stands for Child Sexual Assault. Yes. So yeah, I could honestly write horror story after horror story about this dude's behavior. This is very much a too long didn't read post. Moral of the story. Call people out if they're being weird with your friends. Most of the time, people want to avoid rocking the boat, so they'll take abuse or creepiness instead of speaking out and suffer in silence. Yep, that's a very solid thing to take out of this. But there's also just the fact that... Yeah, can we just appreciate how much of a Chad this chick's wife... Fucking hell. This dude's an absolute giga Chad by being like, yeah, if you didn't ask all of your female friends for titty pics, maybe you'd still have some friends in life. Just giga Chad move. She deserves that dude. Holy fuck. That dude just single-handedly fucking ended that dude's life. But that said, it is absolutely correct on OP's part that you need to call people out if they're being fucking weird. Because nobody likes rocking the boat. You're so much so that you're literally taught not to rock the boat in school most of the time. The way I see it, dude just got elbozoed, and he's freaking out because he's realizing that he's a problem. And he doesn't want to be a problem because he likely sees himself as perfection. On to the next story. 3 hours wasted with a horrendous dungeon master and their overly sexual friend. We only rolled dice 3 times. I just got out home after the worst RPG experience I've ever had. Railroading doesn't even begin to describe this train wreck of a dungeon master. My girlfriend and I met a DM and their friend for a one-shot set in Ravenloft, which we know nothing about, by the way, and we were essentially dragged, kicking and screaming, into a 3-hour book. We rolled through dice with a total of like 3 times, and 2 of them, when we had to interrupt the DM to roll, we had maybe 2 or 3 instances where our player characters even fucking spoke to anyone. It's no exaggeration when I tell you all that literally everything, from the most important NPC in the town of who gives a fuck, to a random creature pulling a cart down a road, gets 20 fucking minutes of description with 0 chances of interaction. What makes it even worse is their friend was constant with the sexual jokes even after we made it clear we were uncomfortable with it. Old lady in town, he jokes about wanting a gum job. We see a headless monster. He talks about their esophagus, even after we tell him repeatedly, that's enough. Never in my life have I ever been so thoroughly disengaged from a table. It got to the point where we had to lie and tell them we had dinner with my parents just so we could get the hell out of there. What kind of dungeon master do you have to be to think, oh yeah, these people brought all these dice and character sheets to hear me lore dump for 3 hours straight? At least it was a one-shot. So we don't have to deal with that again. Rant over. I need a drink. Bro, it sounds like this dude's like trying to fucking write a Ravenloft fanfic and spinning it as Dungeons and Dragons. You were literally just stuck there in a cutscene for 3 hours, and likely would have been stuck there for another 6 if you didn't leave for dinner. That didn't exist. Good on you. Nice to find a succinct way of getting out. I would have just said, bro, shut the fuck up and let us play. Quite frankly, not everything needs a super description of that length. It's very, very bad DMing, in my opinion. It's generally new DMing, in my opinion. You know, people new to the hobby that tend to go for like 20-30 minutes. If you're good at being a DM, which a lot of people are, mind you, you can find a way to describe something in extreme detail in like a sentence or 2. A lot of the times in Dungeons and Dragons, less is more. You don't want to describe every single little tiny detail. You want to leave things up to the imagination. Because that's what this is. It is theater of the mind. If you are describing everything, you're not only wasting everybody's time, exposing yourself as a bad dungeon master. You're taking away that theater of imagination and even a little bit of power fantasy. So, just let people do them. Let people fucking play the game. You don't have to describe everything for 20 fucking minutes. Less is more. That's all we have for today. Much love. Stay sexy. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. I'll be live on Twitch later.